Hey, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video. As you guys know, we are closing in on a brand new Taylor Swift album, which is titled The Tortured Poets Department. I haven't really talked about it very much on my channel just yet because, truthfully, we've had other things going on, but that is the next album that we're going to get into in full because it's very close to being out now. So before we get into that album, as usual, or at least what I've done with a couple of the re-recordings and other albums that I've done on this channel, I like to do a little bit of a prediction video of what I think the songs are going to be about. That way, when we finally get to the reactions of the official song, we can kind of see how right or wrong I was in those moments. And a lot of times in previous album cycles, at least for Speak Now, because I predicted The Vault, it was fun that you guys got to participate in that too. So considering this is a brand new album, this is definitely one that we can all participate in with what our guesses of what the songs are going to be about. So without further ado, let's just get straight into what I think the Tortured Poets will be like. So essentially we're going to be decoding the plot and the lore of what I think it's going to be about. I did write it down on a notebook, so I'm going to put in my notes on the corner of the screen because I didn't make anything else. It's literally just my handwriting. So to start off, I wrote down the track list, and the first song on the album is a song called Fortnite featuring Post Malone, and off the bat that gives an interesting tone of what the album's going to be like. I have seen a couple TikToks and things where people are predicting if it's going to be more like folklore or if it's going to be more like Midnights. A lot of people tend to think that it's going to be maybe some sort of combination of both, but I think the only thing everyone, as far as I have seen, has agreed is that it's going to be a breakup album. But besides that, Fortnite, if anyone also has seen the AI version, this one I would say this is probably my most authentic, or not my own opinion, I'm kind of taking it from other people, but I did see the AI version of this song, and it doesn't sound bad, by the way. I know it's wrong that people are making AI versions of it, but that's kind of wrote up for my thoughts of the song is like when you listen to the AI version and just the definition of Fortnite, it means going on a break. And I definitely think that could be a really good or interesting start to the album, considering that the last song, which is my other bullet point here, the last song on a true Taylor Swift album that she released a full studio album for was Midnights, and the last song from that is a song called You're Losing Me, where if you think about it, the whole plot of that is of course of her wondering what is to come with this relationship, and coming off of something like You're Losing Me with a song that says we're on a break, it just makes it feel like it's maybe in that in-between moment of still not sure where this relationship is going. Are they on a break? Is it over? Should I hold on for some hope? I'm not sure how Post Malone's sound will attach to that if I'm right, but I did write down Sunflower as well just because I feel like that was a really popular song and I could see the sound being like that because it's a little bit more mellow pop. But other than that, I definitely think that it's a good starting point coming off of You're Losing Me, and it's definitely going to define like the uncertainty that she has with this relationship and how it can lead into so many of the tracks that are on this album based on their titles. So track 2 is a title track which is called The Tortured Poets Department, and the 3 words that I wrote down for that is sulking, teacher, and misunderstood. I wrote teacher just because it feels like a department. It feels like she's using that theme of like getting a group of people together, and I can see it being like an English department because like sulking, where they're just like exactly what the title says, tortured poets. It's like they want to have those moments where they're feeling like they're the most misunderstood people and like no one gets what they're going through because they're just so different. Like art and stuff is so much more important to them. It just feels like, I guess I could have wrote the word pretentious, but I kind of get the idea of just like a bunch of people who have a common tendency to sulk or think everything is for them and things like that. I don't know if I really have anything else to say about it just because it's so hard to gauge with no information about the album, but that's kind of my thoughts on track 2. Track 3 is called My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys, and the 3 words that I wrote was childish, objectify, and trophy person. And what I mean by those is childish, I can see there's like a meme from Toy Story where it's like Andy is holding like Woody or something, and there's a cooler looking toy and it says, I don't want to play with you anymore, and then it's dropping that one for the newer version. And I can kind of see that my boy only breaks his favorite toys. It's like he's quick to either hurt the one that he loves or he's quick to drop that for a better situation. And that's kind of why I also thought of trophy person. It's because like the person is your favorite toy if you're getting something from it. If you're a trophy person, like you're a good arm candy, you're that good, you're elevating that person without them having to do anything different. And I can see that being like their favorite toy. And that's kind of also why I put objectify. It's because if you're treating a person like your favorite toy, that's obviously very manipulative, and you're trying, and I get the vibes of like I said, just like objectifying that person or using that person. And I don't want to get too far into, you know, her personal life, of course, with her relationships, but given her social status, I can definitely see some people taking advantage of being in association with Taylor Swift and using those opportunities. And that's kind of what I think of when I think of like favorite toy. But let me know what you think of that one. I'm really curious of what your guys' thoughts on that. Track 4 is something called Down Bad, and for that I put slang, can't give it up, and don't see a way out. So Down Bad, I wrote slang because to me the slang version of Down Bad is that you can't get a grip, you're so in love with this person, and you're just down bad. You would do anything to keep a relationship or get a relationship. So given that, I feel like that kind of explains what I think the song is about. I think it's gonna be, she's so far deep into this person, she's so far gone that it's really hard for her to remove herself, that essentially like maybe she ignored red flags and all of these things just because it's a relationship that she's down bad for, and like she never anticipated her being in a situation where she had to remove herself for it. And I just feel like giving things off of Lover, it's like you dug those roots deep and now it's equally as hard to get those out. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for Down Bad. Track 5, oh god, it's called So Long London, and the only two things I really come with was London Boy and Coming to Terms, because maybe this is just a wish list thing, but I think it would be, I don't want to say really cool, but interesting to see if she uses the same locations that she did in London Boy and show how they have changed for her. And I'm thinking of, I can't think of a specific lyric, but like in the pub I don't know how she would do with that, but like thinking of like the places like Cornelia Street but in London that really signify the relationship. I wonder if she could be like, Camden Market is empty now, or like I could see like the imagery of like it fading in the distance. All of the things that you used to highlight and celebrate, that little place that you used to go to, is now fading into the background as you drive away. And I can see that in a good way or a bad way, like, you know, heartbreaking of course, but also coming to terms with it as it's like getting farther and further out of the distance. It's more that you're realizing that it is over and like it is the point of moving on. So that's what I'm thinking with track 5, but I don't know, I can't see it being like a happy thing. I have to only assume that it's gonna be heartbreaking to say the least. Track 6 is But Daddy I Love Him, and I wrote for that one, Dear John, Everyone Can See It, and Denial. And the reason why I wrote Dear John is just for, there was a lyric in Dear John where she said like, my mother accused me of losing my mind, and I feel like that's very similar to But Daddy I Love Him, because it feels like the dad or the person in that situation is trying to level with Taylor, or the person in the song, that this is not right for you. Like everyone else can see the red flags and how it's hurting you, and you're again down bad so far into this relationship that you don't see what it's doing to you. So, and then But Daddy I Love Him is trying to defend it. She's trying to find any reason to say, yes, I see these red flags, but Daddy I love him. That's all I can say. It's all I'm willing to ignore it because I love this person so dearly. And that's what connects the other two bullet points of Everyone Can See It in Denial. It just feels like she's going through great loops to defend something that really should not have its defense. But that's kind of what I'm thinking for that one. Track 7 is titled Fresh Out the Slammer, and I wrote Freedom, Afterglow, and I Did Something Bad, because this one's a little bit more interesting, or they're all interesting, but this one's a little bit more difficult to try to pinpoint a plot for it, just because Fresh Out the Slammer definitely makes me think of jail. And I even mentioned it in my last video, I believe, or maybe it was the Paris video that got cut because of the footage. But I did say something recently that I did read some of her Time article, and she did say like the last 6 years of her life, which I assume is about her relationship, but could be other things. It felt like she was in prison, like she felt like she was locking herself away from the world. So Fresh Out the Slammer feels like she's finally free of the prison that she's been in for a certain amount of time. So that's where I'm thinking that track's gonna go. But then I also wrote Afterglow just because I thought of put you in jail for something you didn't do. And I could see that maybe of her putting herself in jail. At one point in time, Afterglow was about blaming the other person, that she was doing something so wrong and putting that person in their own metaphorical jail, like making them the villain here. But I wonder if she could also say like the Afterglow is maybe her putting herself in that jail, because again, she's like minimizing herself or hiding herself away to make this person feel good about themselves. So the other thing is I did something bad and it just feels like maybe she's happy to be out, like she breaks out of prison or something like that. But I think all in all, that song is definitely going to be about regaining her freedom, maybe something like Bejeweled. Track 8 is titled Florida, and I had no idea what to think about that one. So I just put like, maybe it's reminiscing on the good times. Like, you know, it's happier memories they shared there. Could be sad, could be happy. But I also wrote Cornelia Street because it just feels like a location that she could tie something to, a memory to. I feel like she likes to do that. So clearly something significant happened in Florida. Could be a breakup, I guess, but I'd like to think that that one could be a little bit on the happier side. Track 9 is titled Guilty as Sin. So for that one, I put cheating, caught in a lie, and no denying. Because guilty as sin feels like something that you would say, like, you can't deny it. Like, guilty as sin, there's no other way of interpreting that. It was like, you to me, that's caught red-handed. It's like, there's no defense to what you did, and how could you do this? And I know it's very vague, but all I can think is that it's like such a betrayal that you can't even allude to it being anything else but a cardinal sin. Track 10 is Who's Afraid of Little, I was supposed to say Little Old Me. I put cheeky, opposite, and revenge. I feel like it's definitely gonna be a cheeky song that's like, oh, who's afraid of little old me? I'm just the most powerful pop star in the world. Something like that, where it's the opposite of what the title is saying. It feels like she's definitely meaning that in a way of like, you're messing with the wrong person, buddy. And I think it's gonna be revenge-esque. I could see it being something along the lines of vigilante shit, or Mad Woman, something about rage and getting their revenge on this person. Track 11 is I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can. I didn't really write much because I feel like that title's saying exactly what it is. It's denial part 2. If you have to fix a person, they're not meant for you. Plain and simple. I think you can work through problems as a couple, but if you have to fix someone, it's usually not worth your time. And I'm just gonna leave it there. Track 12 is Love of My Life, which is LOML, but I know the abbreviation. So I put Never Getting Over It, Only What If, The One. So I wrote The One just because I could see it being a casual song of like, oh, you are the love of my life, or you are the one, you are just the one. Like making it seem smaller than what it is, but it's like, oh, it's just the love of my life leaving me. Like, you know, like seeing the heartbreak in that sense. And it just feels like she's gonna say like, I'm never gonna get over it. I might move on. We're gonna move on through life, but I will always look at you as the love of my life. You have a first love, you have a second love, but you have a love of your life, and maybe this is gonna be that person for her. I also almost wrote tying into all of the girls you loved before because now she's becoming one, but that's a whole different thing, and I don't know if that's really a connection there. Track 13 is I Could Do It With a Broken Heart, and that makes me think of her career is never ending. She has obligations, she does these things, and she has to move on. So I wrote tour and career, and then I wrote elevator just because I think of the song Labyrinth, where she says that things in the elevator, if it moves too quickly, it scares her. And then that fact that everyone just expects her to move on as quickly as things come for her. So as quickly as those elevators rise is as quickly as they expect her to move on. And I feel like that's what happened here, where she is embarking on the biggest tour of the world in history, and then also maybe doing it with somewhat of a broken heart. And it's like, no one's maybe thinking about that when they're seeing her perform the biggest tour in the world. Like, what are her personal feelings to the songs that are very personal to her life and how it really is affecting her in those aspects. Track 14 is The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. I think that's just gonna be a mic drop. I feel like that's gonna be the most like attacking that person. Maybe not attacking, but just really reading that person. And I put emasculate and fragile because I have to write fragile because you have to have a really fragile ego to let someone dim someone else to make yourself feel better. And that's what I feel like the smallest man, it's like, you're actually one of the smallest persons, but I have to make myself even smaller so you could feel big. That's definitely what I feel like the song's gonna be about. So I wrote emasculate in the sense of like, they felt emasculated by her success, or whatever the case may be. Something about that is making them feel like not good enough in the situation. Track 15 is The Alchemy. I really don't know what this one stumped me hard. All I wrote was chemistry because that makes me think of chemistry. And when you use chemistry, you know, there's double meanings, of course, of like the actual chemical aspect and also the chemistry in a relationship. So I was kind of thinking of like her saying like they are the perfect potion, they're the perfect combination, they were always meant for each other. Kind of the same thing about like Love of My Life, where these people are scientifically made for each other, but it still blew up in their face. Like I could see like a chemical blow up, I don't know. Something like that. It's like, even when you think it has the right formula, it still didn't work. And then the last track is titled Claraboa. Claraboa. I had no idea who that is. I googled it. She's a silent film star, so I really have no idea what to put for that one. I don't even want to try to guess. Maybe if you guys have a guess, I'd love to hear what you're kind of thinking with that one. But I really didn't think of anything for that, so I'd love to know what your thoughts on that one is. There also are bonus tracks, but I didn't get into those. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video with the bonus tracks, but those are what I think the 16 tracks are going to be about plot-wise. So I hope you enjoyed this video, but please let me know what your thoughts on this. I think this is really a cool video that we could have together just because none of us know. So I'd really, really love to know what your opinions are. That way when I go back to these songs, we can look at these things together and see what our opinions were. But thank you so much, and I will see you in our next video.